Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea. We've been up for 24 hours. In the debate, we are beginning to blow up our Friday effort. The team did just a fabulous job of making those tough decisions. Do you cover the inflation report at 8:30? End of June 30, the view into the quarter. I got from Bruce Kasman today and Emmy Sheo at J.P. Morgan a 59-page outlook into 2024. I promise you I will not read it this weekend. We've got continued economic data coming out. Michigan, a little light. Inflation came in a little light, I guess. Markets lift up, but all of it was pushed aside by what the nation witnessed last night between the former president and the present president. And thank you to all of Bloomberg Politics, particularly David Gura in Atlanta, who got out front of this story with his conversation with the governor from California and others. I could go on for the 6 minutes of single best idea of all the people that pieced this together. I was sitting on the couch with Vet Bill last night as the show was blown up, and the first name I mentioned was Terry Haynes of Pangea, and not a shock, he wrote a brilliant first note, I'll say at 11 p.m. last night. And the second name I mentioned was Henrietta Treyz. She's at Veda Partners. She is encyclopedic, and what's different about her than talking heads is she's been intimately involved in the machinery of how politics gets done. Henrietta Treyz on the 25th Amendment.
The good news for Democrats here is that 66% of the population already wants somebody other than Biden and somebody other than Trump to be on the ticket. So if it's going to happen, this is oddly enough kind of the best way. It's been speculated about all year. You can see it from the predictive markets. There has been at least 20% odds that Biden would not be the nominee. I think that's much higher this morning. And that is going to give you a baseline to start with on these sort of otherwise wildly extreme circumstances that are pretty normalized this year. A lot of the American public is socialized to the fact that this might happen. Certainly the investment community is.
Henrietta Treyz, and had so much more to say. And just to give you some of the highlights, Rick Davis joined us for years with Senator McCain. Rick Davis was just absolutely brilliant on analogs and non-analogs, as comparing President Reagan and the First Lady with President Biden and the First Lady. And I'm just trying to sort out the highlights that we had. Greg Valliere, I thought, was just brilliant and very cautious about a shift. Greg Valliere is certainly not in the camp that you're going to see dramatics and fireworks, and that President Biden, it appears, will be in this for the long haul. But many other differing opinions out there. We did see inflation. Neil Dutta made very, very clear that he is looking for an ebb, if you will, from his great optimism that he's seen on economic growth. And then on the markets, we had to go to Ben Laidler of eToro. Ben Laidler in December of 2018 was a lonely voice saying equities have value and you will prosper with ownership. And then he said that in October of, I believe it was 2022. And he said that in October of 2023. You get to see a pattern here. Ben Laidler on what you need to do going into Q3 2024.
I think big tech is absolutely fine. This is very fundamentally driven. It's all about the earnings, which are massively surprising here, or continue to surprise. But I think the story of the second half is this delayed rotation into everybody else. If we get the rate cuts, if we get a firming of economies, it's going to be all those other smaller sectors which are much cheaper, that are much more sensitive to that than big tech. Right. So big tech's fine, but as we get the rate cuts coming in, I think everyone else is going to start performing. And remember, a little bit of money goes a very long way in those assets because they're all just much, much smaller and less loved.
Ben Laidler of eToro. Major shout out to Scarlet Fu, sat in for Paul Sweeney. Today we obligatory did the Scarlet Fu Celebrity Lodestone section. We thank her for her comments on Ben Affleck and J-Lo. That was really timely and to get us into the weekend. We will be here on Monday with the fallout of this debate. We'll be here on Monday to look forward to Q3 in economics, finance, investment, and international relations. From New York on Apple Podcasts, Single Best Idea.